Hi, welcome to Bad Music Taste and Other Ways to Ruin Your Life. My name is Dominic.
And my name is Sam. Dominic has a record this week.
This week's record is Wig Out at Dango's by Dag Nasty. This record was first released in 1987, and the copy I have here is an original pressing. Anyways, today we're talking to Jay Robbins from Jawbox, Burning Airlines, and Government Issue. How's it going, Jay?
It's going great now that I've managed to get into the Zoom chat. Going much better.
Well, yesterday you played your first show back in 18 months. How is it getting back into playing music?
Wonderful. Number one, amazing, and but pretty overwhelming. It was a weird. It just, you kind of. I'm sure you've had this experience too, right? Everybody was kind of hunkered down in their bolt holes here, and then now we're all figuring out how to get back out into the world. And so I was honestly a little. I wasn't intimidated, but I was kind of overwhelmed because also it was a smallish space. It's like I don't know if you've been to Lost Origins Gallery in DC, but
No.
Really cool spot. But it's small, and there were a lot of people, and everyone was masked, and the word was that if you're not vaccinated, you shouldn't attend. And I did a COVID test the day before, even though I'm fully vaccinated and I basically don't see anybody. So I was sort of nervous about that factor, but really just like physically, like being in the same space with a lot of people was probably more, it really knocked me for a loop. Then actually playing was wonderful. It felt really good. So, yeah.
Yeah, and with that and with shows coming back, is there hope for Jawbox shows?
We have plans for shows next year for sure. We're supposed to go. Thing that we're really excited about is we're supposed to go to Europe in June to play Primavera Festival, which is a kind of a bucket list event for me.
Yeah.
And I've always liked it. It's such a cool festival. Every year when they release the schedule, I always look at it. I'm like, oh, if only I could go. It's like phenomenally expensive, and couldn't dream of ever playing Primavera. And then, when we did our reunion tour in 2019, we got the chance. We were able to book into Primavera, and then it didn't happen in 2020. Didn't happen this year, and luckily, they invited us back for the rescheduled version in 2022. So. I'm really, really psyched. It's in Barcelona. I love Barcelona. And there's a lot of bands on the program that are like Bauhaus is playing. This is like a huge band for me from when I was a kid. Like Bauhaus was one of my first favorite bands. And Sturzendt and Neubauten, German industrial band. They love, really great band. So hopefully we'll get to see some stuff as well as just going and playing, but the whole thing's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I know of Primavera. I never really looked into it because it was in Barcelona.
Yeah.
All
Right.
I know is I think it was after the one in 2019. I was like, Jawbreaker played?
Yeah.
I would have gone just for Jawbreaker.
Well, did you see did you go and see them when they played in DC?
Yeah. So then that was like,
good.
okay, then it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that was great.
Like a huge music festival is not usually my favorite,
Yeah.
like I kind of prefer small shows.
Yeah.
I've always felt that way. I never used to go. I think the first time I went to an arena show was when Jawbox opened for Stone Temple Pilots, and I was actually playing. And I'm like, people do this? This is like normal for people? It was pretty, pretty amazing. Anyway, it was really great and fun, but really not my style. I like small shows much better.
Yeah.
But
the only festival I've been to is Punk Rock Bowling. And I was like, wait, but these are like little punk bands. What are they doing in front of all these people?
is that actually like kind of a big, I know people who've played it and I've seen pictures, but does that feel like a kind of big event, Punk Rock Bowling?
I went to the one in Asbury Park a few years ago, and it was at least it felt huge.
Mhm.
Yeah. There were a ton of people there. And the funny thing was the Descendants were headlining and there was a better view outside of the place of the
Yeah.
band. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that kind of makes sense actually too. There's always ways you can always kind of like get a vantage point without maybe necessarily being, admitted to the show. But
Yeah, I
at
wish
least
they
for an outdoor thing.
yeah, I wish that they still did that in Asbury Park, especially this year. Because this year
Mhm.
seemed like best punk rock bowling ever. Like this seems like the year to go to.
I haven't, all I know is my friends in the band Pegboy played, um, Chicago
Oh,
band.
it was like
Some,
Descendants, Devo, Circle Jerks.
Yeah.
Oh, it was crazy. Those were just the headliners. Yeah.
Devo I would like to see
Oh
very much.
yeah. And Mark is like at least for me, is like a bucket list interview.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, I bet. Yeah. I mean, that's someone with such a breadth of experience. Everybody in that band. I mean, actually, the more I think about it, I bet everyone in that band. If you think about like who is it? Gerard Casal was I remember reading some article about he was in college at Kent State in Ohio when the Kent State shooting happened, the infamous thing where the National Guardsmen shot the protesting students. And that was like this huge cultural moment. And that guy was there. Like I'm always fascinated by that. People who have whose experience kind of goes back beyond, like this is somebody, like Devo, those records are like hugely influential to me and to, just about everybody that I know. And then to think about the influences that shaped those people, is
Yeah.
very cool. And
Yeah.
especially real life experience.
Yeah. And they were like people he knew too. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure. And it was crazy
Yeah.
thinking like things he's been through going to like whip it. Let's
Right. No, but totally, well, because it's philosophical, right? Devo is not just philosophy.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you released a solo record entitled Unbecoming, but was releasing solo music something you'd always wanted to do?
No, not necessarily. I don't think so. I mean, it was more a matter of, I guess it's not a matter of necessity either, because, no, I think I reached every band I've been in has always been really collaborative, and that's really great. But at the same time, since I started making music, I've always heard, if I sort of come up with a song idea or I'm maybe just playing guitar and something kind of comes to me and I start working on all the elements. Oops, hold on a second. Wait a minute. There we go. Somebody just tried to call me. Yeah, I'm busy. But what was my train of thought, which I just lost? Oh, so I always like, if I sort of hear a song in my head, I kind of hear all the pieces. And, particularly in the early days of Jawbox, I used to I'd be able to kind of dictate sort of 2/3 or 3/4 of the song. But then the group effort of finishing it was always the thing that makes it, really gives it life. And then once Jawbox changed drummers, our second drummer, Zach Barocas, is much more of he's got such a strong musical personality, and brought so much of his style to the band on the drums that changed the way we wrote everything. And it became much more like you couldn't just come and show a song. For the most part, it had to be something that started from scratch and everybody worked out together. And then maybe I would, kind of like finish the arrangement because I'm the one who's singing it. And I could go, no, if we draw out this part longer, then I can, the vocal will be better and the whole flow will be better or whatever. But I think it probably is the fact that like I tend to hear most of an arrangement in my head. And then over time, especially with the last band that I sort of band that I had was Office of Future Plans. And that started out as demos for a solo record but I didn't even want to call it a solo record. It just made me I was very self-conscious about that idea. And then we worked out all those songs, and they got much better because of everybody's contributions. And then once we worked through all the stuff that I had written, and we were trying to jam and come up with stuff, it was like, I sort of felt like I was so in awe of those people, the people that I was playing with. I was like, I can't tell these guys what to play. You know, we'll just come up with something great. And then we would just sort of jam and kind of tread water for a while. And then I had these songs, and a lot of the songs on the record are really simple in my mind. Anyway, they are sort of on this quest to write simpler songs. And I started feeling like, well, I can't just show these guys don't want to, they could learn these songs in a minute. So I sort of got stuck for a while. And then I thought the way to approach this is just have it be my record. And then I don't get hung up also especially as we're all, people of my generation, everybody's getting older. And if they have time to put into music, maybe they don't have time to go out on tour, for 6 weeks or whatever. And there's that thing where if someone leaves the band, maybe it's not the same band, but if it's just sort of got my name on it and someone can't do a particular thing, right? Like say, I get a chance to go on tour. That seems like a great opportunity, but one person from the band can't do it. I don't feel quite as bad about asking someone to sub, so it's just sort of necessity,
Yeah, and I think kind of like what you mentioned when you were first, talking about it was like, even though you like are in like very collaborative bands and there's like a lot of contribution coming from everybody, it's still different when it's like just you, because it's completely, what you think of like when you hear it and when you write it and like what's in your head. And it's just like a different kind of expression, I think.
No, I mean, 100%. And that's sort of like, it's sort of a challenge to me also to be like, well, no, I'm not going to, this, like the form of this song is completely down to me. And then, trying to sort of work on that and feel like I can really take responsibility for it. It's, I don't know. It's cool. And sometimes it's a little bit of a practical thing too, because it takes me a really long time to write lyrics. Music just comes out of my head and it's fun. But lyrics, I'm kind of like more and more, I really want to be able to stand behind them. And so there's been times in the past when literally everybody else in the band is just waiting and waiting. And they're like, so we can't play the new song because it doesn't have lyrics. And I'm like, well, we could. And then sometimes in the past, I've been like, I'll just make something up on the spot. I'll just kind of mush my way through it because I know how the melody goes. So I'll be like, I would be on stage just kind of faking it with syllables. Which sometimes worked pretty well and sometimes did not work very well at all. So I played a show, the very first Burning Airlines show. We got a chance to open for Chavez at what was it? Anyway, whatever. We got a chance to open for Chavez in New York, which was a band that I really idolized, really loved that band. And it was, I didn't have lyrics for about half the songs, but I was like, you know what? I'm just going to be bold. It's going to be fine. I know how they go. I'll just blah, 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 kind of, fake it. So I got there and it was, thinking that it was like going to be kind of small and sort of punk rock. But in fact, it was a really slick club and the kind of place that's like air conditioned. So it's sort of, you don't even warm when you're playing guitar, your hands are kind of cold and everything sounds so good. You could just hear every little nuance. So I could, every time I went to the mic, I was like, everyone can tell that I'm faking it. And it was actually a disaster. And then the worst part about it was Bob Mould was there, who's someone I really idolized. He's good friends with my friend Vic. And so at first I saw Vic, I was like, Vic, oh my God, I'm so sorry you had to see that. It was like, we weren't ready, but how could we say no to a show with Chavez? And then he goes, Jay, do you know Bob? And I was just like,
who?
I'm old, just yeah. But anyway, So I'm never going to do that again. It's more must. And having a solo project is a good way of making sure that the band doesn't get frustrated waiting for me to write the words, because I'm just on
Yeah.
my.
Yeah, and now you own a studio called Magpie Cage Recording. So what made you initially want to start recording music?
It's just amazing. I don't know. I mean, I can't put my finger on. I mean, I think it's just a result of listening to a lot of records with headphones when I was a kid. Like, I was big, like I wasn't really like a rock and roll kid. I was like probably probably the nerdiest nerd ever could imagine. And like, and so I spent a lot of time when I was younger, like I literally spent a lot of time like just playing piano and trying to learn things off records and sort of figure out voicings of stuff. And I didn't even like rock and roll kind of wasn't my thing so much. When I was really little, I liked Black Sabbath. My dad had some Sabbath records and that was really great to me. But I was more into like science fiction and comic books, and I collected movie soundtracks, and I would just listen, because I noticed a lot with soundtracks, like if you're watching a movie, there's that way that the music kind of plays on your emotions and really delivers the story and, you know, carries you along. And I would just listen. I'd be like, you know, why is this hitting me this way? What is that sound? Or what are these, you know, what are the actual notes they're playing that are grabbing me so much? So I got, you know, I would listen with headphones. And if it's an orchestra, you know, it's kind of amazing, like the space inside the recording of being, you know, you can close your eyes and be like, oh, whoa, the violins are over there. And then way in the back, the timpani or whatever. And I think that sound of like the space and the people playing together and something, you know, really like profound and dramatic happening, I think that just captured me. And then when I started realizing that I knew people my age who were making their own records, you know, and like playing out, and like, you know, there was this social piece to it, like, because up till that point, up till I started going to punk shows, I was just like making a lot of music on my own, you know, like, and that was it. I didn't know how it would sort of how it could interact with people, and punk definitely did that, you know. So so I think that's why. I mean, I remember when I joined GIs, the first record we made, just being like, I didn't want to leave the studio. I was so amazed, just like space and the microphones, and here's this thing we're doing, you know, it's coming out of our hands and our brains, and then I'm hearing it back in these speakers in this way. Just like, I mean, it's awesome, you know. It's like if you do it right, it's like you kind of caught lightning in a bottle. And I've always loved listening to records that way, listening to music, you know, that way, hearing how the studio can take something and make it more intense for you, you know. So it's just a thing.
Yeah, kind of going back to another point you made in talking about that, I think like listening to like a really good album is amazing, but I think the way the music can also be expressed like through film, like you were talking about, I'm like a huge horror fanatic. So like being able to watch movies like that and see how music can kind of progress and make you feel certain emotions because of, like you said, like a certain note or a certain chord being played, I think is also just something like to kind of dive in depth on, in like opposed to like an actual album or anything. So kind of seeing like all the sides of music like that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's amazing if you ever try to watch, like, pick your favorite movie and try to watch it with the sound off, you know, or if there was a way to like, I mean, I think I always use like the movie Psycho as an example. Like if you take the music out of Psycho, it's just like an hour of Janet Leigh driving around. You're kind of like, okay, but you put the music in there and you're like, oh my God, what's going to happen? You know?
Right. So it's kind of leading like the progression of the film just through the music being played. And I just always thought that was crazy.
Yeah, no, and also like the internal life of the characters. Like sometimes it's like, you know, there's action on the screen, but then there's something else beneath the surface, and the music is telling you all about it, and most people don't even notice, you know. I mean, it's a total artwork. It's amazing film.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. But so your music career started like playing bass in GI, and seeing how your career's kind of evolved, like would you have done anything differently when starting, or was it kind of just like a good way to begin?
I mean, I don't know. I just sort of feel like I kind of not blundered. Well, it is a little bit like you know, like I blundered. I mean, I when I tried out for GIs, I had no expectation that I was going to get in. I just thought, like, wouldn't it be crazy if I tried out? You know? So I kind of think every stage has kind of been, I've been thinking about it, you know, a lot lately in a way. Like, it hasn't been a question of like having ambitions. It's been a question of like trying to like tune into things that seemed like, you know, I don't know. It hasn't been very conscious. It's been like, oh, here comes this next thing, or I meet this person, and, you know, I mean, and then they sort of suddenly an opportunity comes up, you know, and I'm like, oh my God, I should totally do that, you know, sort of seizing the moment kind of thing, rather than having some kind of long range plan. So
Yeah, and I think that often creates like a space for really good opportunity, because even going into something kind of not with positive or negative expectations, kind of just like a completely open mindset makes for some of the best situations. Like you said, like it's not like you expected to actually be able to, you know, be in GI, but then you just went for it anyway.
yeah, no, I mean, that's really, I thought, I mean, so I look back at that, because so many things flowed out of that one thing, out of that one moment, that, you know, if I had just gotten the flyer that said GI needs a bass player and just been like, and done nothing about it, I mean, my life would be completely different. It's crazy. So, I mean, it's good to like, I'm envious of people who have grand ambitions and can make a big plan and execute it. But I feel like I'm very happy that I've been able to, I mean, I've had so many great opportunities that just flowed from one to the next thing, and that like I was able to say yes to things that even if they were intimidating, you know. And that was like very, you know, I mean, I think I could probably thank punk rock for that too. Like, just like, why not, you know, why not do this thing? Like, so yeah.
And I think going into something not having any expectations makes it a lot better.
Yeah, generally, yeah. I think there's an upside for sure.
But like
Yeah.
thinking like, okay, well, this is gonna happen, and this is gonna happen, and this is gonna happen, when none of them happen, then
Right. No,
Yeah.
sure. But like, it's like about being present, right? It's like
yeah.
showing up and kind of really taking in what's in front of you, and, you know, like just showing up for it is important.
Yeah. Um, well, Jay, thank you so much for your time. This was a lot of fun.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
It's been an honor and a pleasure.
Well, thank you so much.
All right. Take it easy, you guys.
You too.